Uh, okay, good afternoon, everyone. So now, without not wasting much time, let's just start for the webinar today. Uh, Today, luckily and gratefully, we have Seema Saxena with us. She has one of the fantastic corporate career, and I'm sure what every one of you today who are dreaming of, she has left that dream. And she has worked on a top positions in corporate like brands like Reliance Communication, Tata Finance, and whatnot, PwC to be very frank and whatnot. So we are so lucky and grateful to have her on this platform today. So as people are joining, will without wasting much time, not wasting much time, let's just start today's session. Seema ma'am, over to
Yes,
you.
yes. Okay. So at the outset, a big thank you, Deep, for such a sweet introduction, sweet and short. That's the way I like it. So thanks a lot. Hi, everybody. I hope I'm audible. A very good afternoon to all of y'all. It's very motivating to know that we have a very common interest in exploring today's topic. The theme is jobs, compensation, careers, all of this post pandemic. So, jobs, compensation, and careers post pandemic. Uh, I've been given to understand, that most of you in today's webinar are at the cusp of beginning a new chapter in life. Basically, what we old timers would like to believe means, we say, okay, you're about to start, or at the beginning, you're at the beginning of a promising career. You're looking forward to a promising career. And in that light, my best wishes to all of you for the same. As you know, I'm on audio. I am not visible to you, but I can see some lovely, young, brilliant, bright faces. So the joy is entirely mine. And I want to thank you for being, so nice to bear with me on audio. But, this is due to some technical handicaps I lived through the whole pandemic. And I think unless the markets really support me with the right guy to come and service me, I may not be on audio for quite some time. Having said that, I want to wish you very safe times to you and your loved ones and your family. And let's start right away from the topic. Let's get into it and let's take it forward. I think the format is that once I have gone through the basics that I want to share with you, there will be a Q&A session, and I think maybe around 35, 40, or maybe whatever it takes, we'll just sort of go through it, and then maybe I'll expect your questions. So yes, keep an open mind and go ahead. Okay. So from our theme, the word pandemic is of specific note, and it has a deep bearing on the subject matter which we have on hand, in the sense that whatever I'm going to say and share today is probably valid for how long? A year, or maybe a year and a half? What, a max of 2 or 3? And why the short-lived validity? Because whatever we are speaking today, obviously, if the vaccine and the cure is out earlier, then the dynamics of the new norm, they change. So I think it's very interlinked. How soon the cure and the vaccine comes, but we believe that for another 2 years or 1.5 years, that's when it is slated to come. So then when I was preparing my thoughts, I said, okay, its validity is not more than probably that much. And then comes the new definition. Okay, so having said this, does it mean that all the things which have undergone a change are likely to revert to the pre-pandemic status, maybe after 2 or 3 years? Perhaps not exactly, because all that I'm saying is that at that point in time, the new norm will get actually redefined, either redefined or refined, around 2 years from now. So, needless to say, until the vaccines and the cures show up, social distancing will continue to play out. And we already know that the most vital impact of this whole, pandemic, that to be the cost factor and other far-reaching consequences which are attached with it. The most vital factor is social distancing. And this is the new normal phenomena which is constraining the government, and our government in particular, to mandate that a factory or an office or a plane, it cannot allow human beings to enter in the same numbers as in the pre-pandemic days. Now, mind you, cost is just one factor which is gone for a toss. Another one will be productivity. Yet one more is profitability, and there are a host of other consequences which are getting shipped out and shaped out day by day. So let's start with the jobs component of my theme today. Yeah, let's move to that and see what is the paradigm behind it, what it means to us who are at the beginning of this new era, new innings in our life, and we are starting off with our careers. So I'll start rolling out with the word jobs. I was wondering if there's any new paradigm around which gives me a new insight into the word job. And my search stopped at one description that I found. So it attracted me right away, and it goes like this. I'll just quote from the definition. A job is synonymous with a role and includes the physical and social aspects of a work environment. People often derive motivation from its uniqueness or usefulness. Yeah, I just repeated slightly because it was quite, a verbose thing. A job is synonymous with a role. So a role and a job intermesh at some point in time, and it includes the physical and social aspects of one's work environment, and that we derive motivation from the uniqueness and the usefulness of our job. Okay. So when I went, running through these words, and I said, okay, let's analyze it. What I found was missing in this Western concept, and I felt strongly about it, is livelihood. Everything is fine, role, physical and social aspects, but what about livelihood? So perhaps it is subsumed, but it is not articulated. So I thought it was missing, and livelihood got straight away hit by COVID. So nobody will deny I mean, you talk to anybody, nobody would like to deny that for a vast majority, job is synonymous with livelihood. Okay. So when we say job for today's discussion, we will stay around 7 key elements. Livelihood, of course, is right away an immediate one. The role itself, the physical aspects of the work environment, the social aspects of the work environment, motivation, uniqueness, and usefulness. These 7 elements, all of them, the pandemic has affected. It has not spared it. These have not been spared by the pandemic in one way or the other. Let's look at livelihood. So the pre-pandemic entry-level salaries, were a cause for anxiety for any normal average MBA and BBA in this country. In fact, even for engineers in this country. Okay, so the entry-level salaries, forget the pandemic. Even before it, it was a source of worry. Now, post-pandemic, all that we need to do is brace up for a delay, and that in the hope that it will improve or it will hike up, and that freshly minted MBAs and BBAs, will get a better deal. I think we have to brace up for a delay post-pandemic in that. But having said that, there will always be exceptions. And in the industry, can have some spikes here and there. But the general thing will be that we should hope that the entry-level CTC after the pandemic remains at the pre-pandemic levels. That would be a very important thing. All of us should emotionally align ourselves to. Hopefully, employers should start thinking in that way. I mean, profits permitting, right? Now, let's go to the role component of a job. The content of a job defines the role, and this is likely to change. The role itself in a lot of jobs is likely to change. What it means in simple terms is you may think of yourself as a team manager or a team lead, but that role will change. What you're managing, what you're leading is going to change. So in addition to the usual bundling of jobs into managerial and non-managerial, normally if you talk of jobs, the first cut thing is it a managerial job? Is it a non-managerial job? I mean, am I an executive? Am I an operative? That way. So in addition to that kind of bundling of job, employers now will additionally categorize jobs based on the following factors. There are 2 factors. The first one is the personal interaction related, and the second is about how essential it is. So the first one, let us dwell on the first one. The personal interaction with vendors, customers, other employees, is it really required? Is it essential? Or better still, touch and feel of the product and document, is it required? Now that's a very important aspect of a job, right? Or a virtual existence and experience of all this is sufficient. So you can see that a lot of in technical training is on 3D, and it's now gone, for several years now. It is done, digitally, and, simulative learning. And so you get to see the product digitally, you don't get to touch it, right? So how much of the virtual existence is good enough and how much of real existence is required? That will be a big key thing. And let's take one example or two to understand this. Okay, take the case of physical verification of the chassis of a car or any vehicle. You know, the chassis number before the disbursement of a loan. Yeah, any vehicle loan, could be a car, could be two-wheeler, whatever. How much can it be virtualized? To what extent? And or does it have to stay? Yeah, because there are regulations and so many other things. So now this is going to go a long way into the job role after the pandemic. Yeah. Now, likewise, retrieval of original documents, which are, essential or as part of the overall documentation process. Yeah. Now let's look at some jobs. Most of the accounting or HR or analytics or software development jobs or typical jobs in the ITS segment, these are in any ways, they seem to be headed for the virtual territory. But I was thinking about the sales jobs, and I feel they will undergo a transformation. Yeah. Uh, for instance, what will happen is instead of getting the other party's attention for an appointment, what is going to be more important is landing your email. I mean, getting your email to catch your customer's attention will edge out seeking his appointment for a personal meeting for some time at least. Okay, unless and until the new norm changes. Yeah. In advanced economy, even when as we are talking in advanced countries, the showing and explaining of brochures, its technical aspects, or the product or prototype, these are all being facilitated by 3Ds or virtual techniques and alternatives. Coming forward in India post pandemic, product samples may well be sent by courier, and I imagine at the penultimate stage of a sales process, probably as a surety to get the advance payment. Now, this is going to be very different from the current scenario because a lot of times, various suppliers, the samples are obtained from them initially because they become the basis of shortlisting suppliers. So, this is going to be a little bit of a shift which I am imagining and believing it might happen. Therefore, what is going to happen on the sales job role? Proactive selling for retail. Take an example in banking segment. Any proactive soliciting of retail customers, that is, approaching them in person for selling your financial solutions. They will all take a back seat for some time for sure. And actually, till the time the new norm happens or gets perfected, a whole lot of selling will not be selling. Actually, it will be replaced. It will be replaced by buying. What it means is that a thing will sell when somebody buys it or somebody asks for it. We live in this world where you have this whole thing about sales and how to this whole sales process and the management science about selling. I think that will all have to probably rest for some time because selling will get replaced with buying. Yeah, that's what my thought process is. So it appears that jobs in the digital or telecanvassing or advertising of products and services, these may go up. And in many sectors, I can also imagine that the role of a salesperson will evolve into that of a market maker. That's how I see it. So, not just this, but basically when it comes to jobs and how employers will view jobs, while looking at it in terms of, what we just spoke for whether how much of interaction and proximity is required, another basis or criteria for factorizing or categorizing a job will be its essentiality or non-essentialness. We can think of a non-essential job role as being something which, in the pre-pandemic days, we would equate with any of those jobs which were we could hire off to a temp staffing firm or the contractual jobs or a whole lot of jobs that are non-value adding in the eyes of the employer, mind you. For a job doer, they are all very important, all value adding, and all of us who are working hard are value adding. But this is from the eyes of an employer. Yeah. So the essential jobs will be the ones that will get performed from a physical office. And even that, not all of it on daily basis. There will be a frequency to it. The senior managers maybe twice a week or thrice a week, and the others maybe just once a week, and still further below maybe once in a fortnight or those kind of things. So I think the essential jobs only will be performed from a cement and concrete building, not many others. In fact, there is already news in today's paper, that India Inc. is going to keep 50% of its employees on WFH mode. So that particular news item is citing Marico, Mercedes-Benz, KPMG, Wonderman Thompson, and many others are given as the examples. But having said that, there is another interview of the CEO of Bandhan Bank, and he says, "Listen, from my experience in banking, I mean, I can avoid travel and not ask my senior guys to come to HO for every meeting. That I can do virtual, but I would not like to risk the job of banking to be virtualized." So this is, your Bandhan Bank, who speaks probably as a good representative of the banking segment, that not all banking jobs will be virtualized. They cannot be done from work from home. And having said that, he says, okay, we can explore whether technically how it is possible. But he says banking job to do it from home, core banking aspects, core operations. It's very risky and full of security frauds, fraught with security risks. So that was the latest piece of information I wanted to share with you. And so what it means? It means that these kind of thoughts will pan out to mean that maybe the top 5 or 10 functionaries with a handful of their key team members will just frequent the corporate office. And all this is likely to lead to a lot of obsolete jobs. There'll be a lot of job obsolescence, coming up once the pandemic settles. Now, those of you who have got your job offers, or you have joined, or you find that the actual job assigned to you is now not what was offered or what was agreed upon, it's very important, and it will be good if we stay put and just hang in there. One of the factors, that may be at play could be whether it is essential or not essential, or whether, what sort of segregation they have in mind for jobs. So also, once the pandemic is over and things start settling down, we should expect pairing of job content, meaning a job will become slimmer. It will become more fit, hopefully. To give you an example, I'm thinking of chairmen and managing directors who decide that their personal secretaries can work from home. Now imagine the drastic shift this person will feel and go through, because the job has been pared down, PARED, pared down. It will be merely arranging Zoom meetings and jotting the minutes. Now compare this with the erstwhile job components and elements, like managing the appointments, which is no more going to be required, at least for the next year and a half. That old method of meetings and managing appointments is going to be defunct and redundant. So job will become thinner, maybe part of it will become obsolete, those kind of things. And then, knowing employment scenarios and knowing employers, very soon you may have an HR breathing down your neck that you're not performing your old job. So your earlier salary was meant for that job. Now this job is, a little different. So, how about looking at it as part-time, or why don't you take a leave, or, all kind of things during the pandemic and afterwards, maybe, a shift in the salary, or you may be forced to say, okay, take a higher level job, those kind of things. Yeah. Now, what happens is that lot of boardroom conversations, I'm just reminded now before I move ahead, I'm reminded of at least the days of the 90s. This is definitely way behind, before pandemic, 90s and the 2000s. Why I'm saying this is I want to introduce you to some sort of a corporate psyche elements, I've been privy to quite a few boardroom conversations, and in the pre-pandemic areas, dating the pre-pandemic days, all the way since the 90s and thereon, there was a very frequent sentiment which was echoed, and which was, why do we need all these people in offices? I've heard practically every chairman and MD speak like that. Why do I want so many? And 2000 onwards, it was like, especially in a city like Bombay, where my career was, commercial real estate was extremely expensive. So it would be like, we really must work out a plan for certain job holders to work from home. And after the 2007 financial crash or collapse and the world mayhem, in one company where I was working, my brief was actually to identify work from home, WFH jobs, and work out a cost reduction plan by paying less to people who are working from homes. Why? Presumably, in the eyes of the promoters, their jobs were seen as not important or were less productive. Now, obviously, this idea didn't go down well with any functional head. So, of course, I was lucky and we didn't have to proceed with it. But I'm pointing out to the mindset of a typical employer way before the pandemic. So it's a hypothetical point I'm making, and it's possibly a point that certain perceptions are already floating regarding WFH, and the pandemic can just be trigger and serve the cause that was pre-existing in corporate India. Having dealt with the role aspect for a little bit, now let's move on to the physical aspects of work environment. uh, Now this is very very commonly known to all of us. I think I will speak very less on this point because we all read about it in newspapers, and we all know that how will the pantry be occupied, how will we sit in the office, how will the thermal check be done at the entry at the office, and how are we going to make sure that the fingerprint marks are sanitized, and those kind of things. So the physical aspects of the work environment are more or less what you and I already know. And how are we supposed to, which of the people will wear visors, who will have to wear a PPE in the office. So these will be, for a 2 3 year period, this post pandemic, the physical work environment will be replete with these kind of considerations. What about the social aspects of a work environment after the pandemic? uh, in the recent lockdown, the general perception of a lot of people that I spoke to and I read about was that the working hours had blurred, and actually it was all about extended working, which had seeped in, and people were working long hours sitting from home. Now, this may continue and this can add to the stress levels, but there'll be other things, which different people will be stressed out about. So while somebody is glued to a virtual meeting, they may continue to stress about, what, simple things like, or funny things like clothes hung in the corner, or the tapestry not being so impressive, any background view which cannot be hidden from your co-participant in a meeting. Or we may just get embarrassed, that the moment you unmuted your device, there were vessels clanging or kids shrieking. These, although we got used to it in these 2 months, but they will continue to play on the mind of some performers, and some people who are working from home. But then there is a positive side to it. We get to see each other's families, because pehle to this was not happening, and a very different kind of a personal connect may start, taking shape. The whole social fabric of office goers may undergo a change to that extent. But at the same time, all office jokes or the bitching or rumor mills, or, these may become thing of a past. I mean, they could become extinct, or they could, altogether take a different shape. Yeah. So then let's look at motivation, uniqueness, and usefulness of a job post pandemic. Okay, they are all intertwined and they pan out very dynamically. They pan out to affect our self motivation, to affect the way we perceive social status associated with the work. Now, as regards uniqueness and usefulness, I have this thought. Just consider our Indian PSUs, our banking sector, public sector banks, just among within the PSUs, or other public sector banking commercial banks. They have about 14 lakh job holders in the scheduled commercial banks, and we have about 4 lakh in the private sector banks. Isn't banking a highly coveted career option? Most of us love it, right? And so we can safely assume that banking is a very motivating sector. Its jobs will be motivating to us. Uh, but is it unique enough? Well, I at an individual level am not very sure about it. Because once the pandemic eases out, even in the post-pandemic area, what will be banking all about? It will be all about, wholesale or retail banking, about cross-selling, maybe the book size and the portfolio size, and most lot of you may be knowing the works around it. So I'm not too sure sector wise if you do a deep analysis about the uniqueness of a job. However, let's look at the usefulness of a job. So here the big question is, from whose angle usefulness, but from whose angle, whose standpoint? I took some data that the NPA of public sector commercial banks for the first half of the year, which ended in 2020, which means financial year 1920, it was 727 lakh crore. Okay, and between the public sector banks and the commercial and the private sector banks, the frauds that were reported, This is as on September 30 last year. Frauds that got reported were to the tune of, roughly say 113 crores, right? Now, as a country, and as I said, usefulness from whose point of view? Obviously, it's useful for the one who's getting paid to do the job. It's useful for the one who wants to get that job done and get some output in return. But as a taxpayer or as a country, is this really useful? The amount of money our government spent on infusing capital in the banks, this could have been used elsewhere, and more useful jobs could have been created or endured. But anyway, these NPAs have got nothing to do with pandemic, because these are last year's NPAs, and so the pandemic ke saath inka kuch connection as such there is none. But COVID, what it did was it made sure that despite this mire, the government pumped money into the economy and the banking system. Hopefully, because of this, we may see new jobs coming up from the SMSE, the small and medium enterprises segment. So, uh, another thing that will happen to us as people who look forward to jobs, and after the pandemic, are we going to be all that motivated about jobs? This whole thing about job security, which is a very Indian or an Asian phenomena, will go for a toss, is what I would personally like to believe. And anybody who's looking out for job security will gradually learn that there is no such thing actually as a job security. And it might just sit in a museum, this word job security, in the days to come. So much so that our moms and dads also will stop talking about it, is my belief. They will stop arguing with us on that front, that what is your career and what kind of a job are you doing, have you got something which is going to give you security. I think our parents mindset will also change. Yeah, so that should be a welcome change for a lot of us after the pandemic, because as youngsters we will adapt faster to that fact. Now, what has happened is that about pandemics, what as youngsters we need to know is that before this particular one came, and before it will be gone, the world has already gone through one Great Depression. This was way back in 1929, as you know, but we all bounced back. All economies bounced back. 13 years ago, which is again not too far in memory, the US financial markets collapsed, and there was again a global mayhem. Uh, but sitting in Bombay, however, within 2 or 3 years after that, I was surprised to notice that there was a substantial hike in the number of Indian professionals, especially in the financial services segment. At senior levels, the ones who started earning in crores, there was a substantial jump. It was mind-boggling actually, because by then, after the 2007 collapse, I had moved on from financial services to the pharma segment, and they were shocked there that how is it possible. But by then, I think in around 2008-10, there were already some 60-70 people. Today, of course, they are all in hundreds. Yeah. So also not only that, but those years in the very financial services segment which had collapsed, the entry level CTC for fresher MBAs, etc., that also had gone up. So I'm just giving you some past, experiences that we have, or past narratives, so that we know that once the pandemic is over, there is going to be a new definition and a new norm. Okay, so among us today who are in this webinar, it's quite possible that there are some of us who have yet to be placed after the pandemic. And so I thought, why don't I capture some data and let's mull over it and get an idea of what the likely scene is going to be. So let's look at the Institute of Chartered Accountants, okay, because I think it's a good benchmark. We should try and look at what they are doing. So in 2019, the ICAI, the Institute for Chartered Accountants of India, their campus placements, the average salary in the top 5 cities of India, yeah, the tier 1 cities, that was 7.43 lakh per annum. And for Ahmedabad, what they did, the day 3 companies in the top tier city companies, which means Bangalore or Bengaluru, Chennai and Kolkata and Mumbai and Delhi, of course. The company which was a day 3 company there was given a day 1 in Ahmedabad and Pune. Right? So, who was given day 3 in the tier 1 cities? A company which was looking roughly at a CTC of 5.5 to 6 lakhs per annum. Such companies were given day 1 in Ahmedabad, and there was hardly anything like a day 2 in Ahmedabad. First come, first serve it was. So now we know where to look at the Ahmedabad situation. Okay. Now we have to sync this with another input. around about CTCs. What's happening is that currently 50% of the B schools in our country have completed, their placements, and this year the placements are ranging in B schools around 5 to 7 lakhs. I'm talking of. I've consciously left out the, the top ranking institutes, and or the branded ones and all. I've left them out from this. So the average offering in the market is definitely from 5 to 7 for a fresher. Yeah. So, but at the same time, we heard about pay cuts, and at senior levels, at lateral levels and senior levels, although they were termed as voluntary. So you need to know this about the salary this year. And as regards CTC, there's one more observation. What's going to happen is, and I'm not going to be surprised if this is already happening. See, the HR teams in corporate India, either they are already engrossed and done with it, or they will get engrossed with this. They might arrive at the cost per office seat. Okay. So in other words, the CTC plus the infrastructure cost of giving a job post pandemic, they are going to be calculating this. Okay. Why are they going to do this? Because it's going to be a very crucial data to arrive at. Remember, I told you that jobs will be viewed as essential and non-essential. So they are going to use this to look at the essential and non-essential aspect of a job. And only jobs which are truly going to justify the cost per seat in the concrete office, those are going to be construed as essential. So even in pre-pandemic times, driving down the cost of infrastructure for in terms of office space, or the cost of travel, business travel, that is not your just local commute, but business travel or work related, or sales related travel, they were interested in reducing these costs in any case. So I have a feeling that the pandemic is a perfect catalyst to get this churn coming. Yeah. So it's like, okay, the pandemic has come, and now we can go ahead and implement what we thought is going to be little sensitive to do in the Indian context. Now the uh, when we go for seeking a job, or when an HR is recruiting for hiring talent, we like to project a job as an important job, or we like to project, or we like to consider how critical is the job to the company and to my career. I mean, is it a job which will help me go to the next rung of the hierarchy? So it's called the importance, the relative importance of a job. Now, I'll paint a picture for you. In the pre-pandemic days, during selection interviews, or when talent hunt would be, underway. Somebody, you can always imagine an HR saying that, asking you, if you're the candidate, that this job involves extensive travel, and at your level you are entitled. This is hypothetical, I'm just taking an example. This job involves extensive travel. At your level, you are entitled to second AC train travel, and we have arrangements with decent hotels, and you would be given a daily allowance of rupees 300 to cover your food and other incidentals. Okay. Now tell us, given your personal and family responsibilities, will you be able to cope up? A lot of HR have to go through this question, in the earlier times, that is before the pandemic. I think this common refrain while hiring talent, even for freshers, I think this will become extinct. This will take some years to resurface. Nobody is going to project, these costs and these, so-called entitlements anymore. So I think the importance of a job, the way it is discussed during interviews, will also change. Because if you're going to essentially work from home, it's that argument will take a different shape. And if you're having an essential job role which takes you to a concrete place, your talks and the depth of the engagement of the HR is going to be different with you. So, but having said all this, it's very heartening that even in right in the middle of this lockdown, there are quite a few companies. I read that they gave their increments, they gave their bonuses as per plan. Yeah. So, but it will be wishful that this will continue to expect that this will continue. I think this is going to be very wishful. We should not be expecting it to that level. We cannot expect it to become a common practice after the pandemic. In fact, what will happen next year? See, the various calculations which have to be done related to compensation, or related pertaining to cost of living increment hikes, they will all be based on half year's production or half year sales, because some base has to be taken to come to the kitty, which can be distributed. So this is all going to be half year's production or half year's sales, and that too provided if there is enough profit remaining to get distributed. So how many of you read this? I don't know, but our industries actually approach the government to say that they be allowed to pay wages and salaries during these months, matlab April, May, June. Hopefully, even they wanted to do it in July and August. That they be allowed to pay salaries and wages from their CSR kitty. You know, the CSR, corporate social responsibility. When there is a certain criteria met, companies and the corporates are required to set aside money to spend on social initiatives. Our industries have unitedly gone to the government and appealed that please allow us to spend from there. Now that is an eye opener. If that is the situation, then as I talk, I'll take you through a Deloitte study also. So these will tell us, these give us a flavor. They give us pointers as to what is likely to happen going forward. Okay. And under such circumstances, any increment or bonus, if any, which again will depend on the job type, whether it is essential or non-essential, it's going to be very, very difficult to sustain it. Yeah. Now, let us look at some costs which never existed in January in India, or some costs even in February and March. These costs we had never imagined. And what are these? Thermal checking, masks, PPEs. Now companies are required to follow a protocol for social distancing. So my conjecture is that after the pandemic settles, or once things normalize, large companies will spend on their employees and workers for these expenses, but the medium and small sized organizations, they might like to pass on this cost to employees, or at best share it with them. And so it depends on where we are placed, but we need to be prepared to spend from our salary on these things. For a lot of people, this means quite a lot on the family budget. Okay. The same thing will happen with medical insurance, because I think the insurance regulator is under pressure to consider a premium hike. Why? Because claims have spiked up. The coronavirus hospitalization claims, they have spiked up. So I think there also, as it is in a lot of companies, I've seen that it's not that the company is paying for the insurance of the employee. It's a sharing mode. It's a cost sharing mode. So then I think this will also shoot up for a lot of employees, or people who will join the workforce after the pandemic. Yeah. And same way for any local commute, which is paid commute, that will be shared probably for unless the company is really large and very financially strong. Forget about large companies. We've read in recent news reports, even migrant workers who want to come back to join, maybe in Rajkot and Surat, they are willing to shell the transportation cost with their employer, but they want to come back and So I mean, if a migrant laborer is sharing the cost of commute, then I think we white collar people should look at it totally differently. What about the shop floor jobs? I was just thinking that it will vary with the industry type, because there are mandated norms, and not all employees or temp staff is going to work daily. So what about compensation for such people, because they'll be working by rotation. And I'm not going to be surprised about a possibility that a company may say that, actually we have paid you full salary. You have worked half a month, right? So then where is the question of an increment or whatever, So at some places, they may consider one-time payment for reimbursing your cost of living. Okay, one-time payment. What it means, usually, you have heard of the Funda DA. Na? DA is added to your salary component, and it goes, as long as you're employed, it goes perennially into your salary and CTC. Unlike that, this is going to be a off one-time amount. It will not get linked anywhere with your, for instance, you cannot quote it anywhere in your next employment hunt that, I was getting paid this much extra. That nobody will take cognizance of it. Okay. What happens to the IT, BPO sector, which, they have been tiding over the pandemic in a better manner compared to, other sectors. I think they will deal with this whole thing about layoffs, compensation, work from home, pay cuts, whatever. They will deal with it the way they have dealt with whenever they had global ups and downs or local ups and downs or, winding ups and bankruptcies. And they'll deal with it the way it's quite a normal for the IT world, actually. And Deloitte did a study of the 100 companies, top 100 companies listed on NSE. Out of those 100 companies, they found that there are 27 companies. This is very interesting. Top 100 companies of India of NSE listing, उसमें से 27 companies they found are going to manage payment of their fixed OPEX, interest, compensation, etc., equivalent to 5.5 months on the median. At best, 1 quarter. I mean, at worst, 1 quarter. Okay. So the scene is indeed a little bit grim. And so uniqueness and usefulness that I was talking to you about, it's all what the employer will perceive it to be, and that will pan out in compensation. Okay. So we need to keep this in mind wherever there is a bonus or increment or salary thing. So what about careers then in the post-pandemic area? So we all know that jobs are intrinsically pegged. They are very deeply linked with the sectoral performance. It could be of the farm sector, of the factories, or of the services. And those of us who are at the start of our career, or we are trying to re-enter the job market because we took a career break, we need to become appreciative of the broader economic context, because in that context is our job, and we need to know from where our job will come, or where will the next job come from. Okay. So it is a fact that in India, the largest employer is the agriculture sector. And there again, there is a trend that lot of people have left the farming jobs for non-farming jobs. And meanwhile, there are RBI reports which suggest that the construction industry has churned the maximum number of jobs. So if you go deep into the economic scenario, further down somewhere, you will pick up a tagline that it is the services sector which contributes maximum to the GDP growth. So with this kind of a contour, we know, depending on what our background is and what our interest is and what our skills are, that, is it going to be the services sector, which comprises of telecom, IT, ITES, banking, etc. That where we will be, or is it, the conventional manufacturing space? Where is it that my job is likely to come from? Yeah. And so what happens to B school graduates in this scenario? Now, even otherwise, when there was no corona and there was no COVID, we had about 3 to 3.5 lakh MBAs coming out each year from our 4,000 B schools. Only about 61% of them were getting jobs. When it came to engineers, we have about 1.5 million engineers passing out every year, and but only 52% of them would get jobs. Even if you see the ICAI, the Chartered Accountants Institute website, last year, just about a little more than half of their graduates, fresh pass outs, got jobs. Okay, so they say that as of now, at least 50 to 60,000 fresh MBAs are still seeking out their jobs. On the other hand, we know there are some leading companies, they rescinded their job offers. So I am tempted to conclude a few things based on all this. First is that this is not the time to job hop. You stay put wherever you are, regardless of the pay cuts or a job, shaving of the job content, or giving you any responsibility that comes down the way. At the same time, there'll be a large number of people who will be hunting for the jobs within this economic scenario and health scenario. And I would like to suggest that we need to keep an eye out on the supply chain space. We need to check it out, okay? Because not just from a work or a job angle, but even if you want to work independently or even for startup ideas. So it's common knowledge that door-to-door delivery, in the food and e-com spaces have boomed. But because of the issues of physical distancing, at least for some time, deliveries in the B2B segment are going to go up. And the supply chain itself, the amount of artificial intelligence needed in supply chain, the amount of software development needed in supply chain, the amount of managerial skills needed in supply chain, all this will create a new horizon, a new career avenue. New meaning, it is existing. There are a lot of people working. There are supply chain professionals who are working, but it's not common. We don't. किसी को भी पूछो तो they'll say हाँ मेरा banking job है, मैं telecom में हूँ. You hear very few people saying मैं supply chain में हूँ. That's the point I'm trying to make. So we need to keep an eye out for this segment. I would like to draw the attention of everyone to the farm sector. And to the point I made that, the sales job will be overtaken by the market maker's job. So why the farm sector? Because why should an MBA usually think about a farm sector? You see, in the last 15 days, the government has done a bit of deregulation, and farmers are now free not to sell to an APMC. They can sell directly to their buyers. Now, herein is a sunrise, and what I call is an avenue. Making farm products and selling them. Trust me, if a professional wants to enter this, it involves study of laws, study of price mechanisms, supply chain framework, the farming practices and its outputs, the climate, buyer behavior. It's a sunrise sector, not just because of the pandemic, but even otherwise. And it is a sector which is, which will never have, what we call is fads. It's an evergreen sector. It's like how banking, every time we need a banking service and there are banking jobs, and like that, there will be a farm job. Only thing is, not too many managerial talent. You don't see managerial talent in the farming sector in that area. So I would like to propose that, this segment should be considered. The kind of things that are happening on the farm finance side are mind-boggling. There is one particular website. It's called farmguide.in, FARMGUIDE.in. They are in the business of giving farmer credit scores. Just try and dabble into this space, and you'll be amazed at the amount of innovation that can be done in finance, the financial solutions that are required, the managerial skills that are required to make markets for the farmers. You could be aggregators. I mean, it's an open world. Yes, but it's not a steady 9 to 5 job that is there. You need to explore it. You need to carve a niche for yourself over there. So in the banking space, one very interesting thing will come up. A very nice career opportunity is going to pop up after the pandemic, and which is going to be in the liquidation and insolvency space. It is already there, but there were some hiccups in the laws. But after pandemic, what happened? Because of the pandemic, the NPA shot up more. The recoveries became a big issue. So I think delinquencies will be there, and professionals will be needed to get going, to get cracking, because it's a massive amount to be sorted out. So I think as youngsters, those of us who are interested in finance, we can just upskill ourselves probably with a few courses, because there are accredited courses here. And then we could look at that space for a new career option, And in terms of construction sector, which is like a low productivity sector, again, I see a very different scope. Why I'm citing construction? Because there's an RBI study which says that construction last few years has given the maximum jobs to the country. Of course, this must be for the construction workers. So again, construction is one space where not too much of professionalism is there. It is there, but not so much. Maybe in top 5 cities, you have these big realtor firms, but not otherwise. So I have a feeling that for those with an entrepreneurial streak, or those, who have a streak that, let's go to a particular company and explain to them a proposition and see if they're interested in giving me a job within that proposition. So I have a feeling of, or I have this hunch that, people who need homes, if they become cooperatives. What type of cooperative? Not the registered housing society, but a cooperative to create the buildings in which they want to live, which means starting from getting your ultimate customer, identifying him, if it's going to be 30 residents, then 30 local cooperative, and then buy a land, get the land acquisition. It's the different skill. It's a different model. Today, what is the model? There is family held experts who have the money, and all kinds of money, who have the land parcels, who get into building and construction. This is a reverse model where the end user with the help of management professionals, gets into a different model of acquiring land and building and construction. It's like a cooperative of residents who make their own land and building. So today I may be 35 in age. I identify people in the age group of 35 to 40. I get about 50, 60 such people. And it's going to be very tough, but to get them to be like-minded on where is that place where, maybe after they become 50, where might they want to live. And so that's the kind of proposition that works in such areas. So I had these fancy thoughts, if you all might like, and I thought I will put them across to you. Okay, in this particular talk, I guess I've done my 50 or more than 50 minutes of talking. And I'll conclude only with a very small anecdote very quickly. So 20 years ago, there was this company that I was working in, and they started feeling the pinch of the fat as regards the corporate headquarters space. There were too many people and there was less space. And also they thought that there are too many people, यार ये लोग ज़्यादा हो गए, अभी इनको निकालने का कैसे? So they used a word called remote working. This is back in 20 years ago, and they pushed some of us, which were like 300-400 of us. They pushed some of us into a very dirty location to go and work. And location meaning in Bombay, I have commuted as long as I worked in that building, in that office. You go through mud, slush, shit, and dunk every day. Every day. So in the monsoon, you can imagine. Now, such a building we used to work as HR, we thought that, हम लोग interview कैसे करेंगे? How we'll call candidates यार? What impression we'll have? What to the candidate will think कि इतनी बड़ी company का इतना फालतू office and all. We had a tough time adjusting, but trust me, the headcount rose and rose like anything, and people kept coming for interviews. So there is no such thing like, there is a new norm and it becomes the new norm and it gets redefined. So just take this in your stride and keep moving forward. That is what I would like to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Seema ma'am. And I think one thing personally, when I was receiving a lot of calls in the last 10 to 15 days from many of my students, and I think every faculty was maybe going through the same. And every student is asking what is about our jobs, will we get proper jobs and everything. So our job was to make sure that they remain in a centered position, a state of mind, so that they can work hard for their coming exams and they can clear it properly so that they can get a job. And I think you are going to, what I think is you are the best person who can help them to get that fear away from their mind.
Yes,
and that's the reason I got in.
No, there is no need to have a fear at all. In fact, just focus on what is on your immediate priority, because that is the foundation of a good start. So yes, I agree. Yeah.
So if anyone has any question, please write on the chat box. I'll be asking the question on your behalf, saying your name. So please write on the chat box. I will be entertaining few questions. And till then, I would like to introduce you, ma'am, to our head of department, Dr. Anu Gupta.
Oh, great.
I think she has some problem with her mic, so she is not able to connect properly, but she can hear us. But she's not able to because her mic is not working or something like that.
So I'm fine. I think I don't have a camera that's working. So I want to say a big hi to Dr. Gupta. A big hi from me.
Yeah. She is really excited, and obviously after this meeting, she will be getting in touch with you for sure.
I'd love to.
Because of this, So any questions, guys? Any questions? If anyone has, please write on the chat box. Okay. Because you're still writing. Ma'am, you're audible. You can talk to Seema.
Hello.
Seema ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, am I audible? Yeah, hi. Hello, ma'am. It was great listening to you. Thank you so much on the behalf of entire CPMR fraternity. And a big thanks to Deep also to bringing you here. Because, it is always better to learn from a people who has been into corporate for so many years. Because we being academician, we have always that picture, a very wishful picture, I think I should say that way. And you make us aware of the realities and the nitties and gritties, the thoughts which you shared specifically related to the churning of job, segregation into two parts, the job, the wishful thing, various sectors, like whether it is virtualization of a banking sector or farming sector blooming. So I think it's the lasting of the thoughts which you gave, even after the pandemic is over, I think certain things are there which we will take with us throughout our career. So thank you so much, ma'am, for
Oh, no, it's my
enlightening us.
pleasure. It's my pleasure. No, I'm happy to have such encouragement from you. And God willing, we should meet up and, things being normal. So it
Yeah,
will be my pleasure to see
and
you.
we will definitely look forward for such association future also, ma'am. So looking forward to meet you. And thanks a
Okay.
ton to Deep as well as Abhinav sir, the trustees and the management,
Thank
to
you.
organize this webinar. So thanks a
Thank
ton, ma'am.
you. Thank you again. All the best.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Anu
Yeah,
ma'am, for your generous talk.
thank you.
Uh, Actually, we I just have one question, which is one of my student texted me on WhatsApp.
Okay.
I think he was about to text, but he was saved some problem, so he texted me on WhatsApp.
Yes.
The question is that most of jobs he's inclined towards sales jobs. So then he's that
Yes.
how in this pandemic situation where people are not allowing even to talk or they come closer to each other, how are able to make the sales call, how I can go and meet customers at their residence or to their offices, so
Okay.
will
So I
this
want to
situation will yeah.
I want to understand the question correctly, Deep. Is the gentleman asking me that
Hmm.
probably he is inclined towards a job, he has a job offer also. His job is in the sales side, am I right? So he says that if I have to make a sales
Yes,
call and this pandemic situation and social distancing is there, how will I make a sales call, right? That is his question, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Is he in the banking side? I mean, if I can just know what is it
yes.
banking or Acha, his product is banking and insurance types? Okay.
He's into a core banking.
Right. Okay. So as I was suggesting, in my talk, these are my personal thoughts, but a bank will have its own policy. Now, I can visualize that all sales jobs will undergo a transformation. If you remember, that's what I had said. And the sales
Yes,
job will transform into a market maker's job. Now, when it comes to banking, insurance, these kind of sales, financial products and services selling, you see, the big question which his bank, before even allowing him to go to the market and meet customers, his bank will do a categorization of jobs. Does the job compulsorily involve interface with a human being? His bank, his HR, those people will take a call. Next, how important is it? Supposing they say कि नहीं virtual से होता है, no need to go person to person because he will be governed by bank policy. Okay, I'm assuming this friend of yours is in a bank.
yes,
He's working in a bank. Okay, yeah.
yes,
So then he will be
yes.
governed by what the bank wants him to do, right? So my conjecture is that the bank will next wonder and ask, okay, chalo, we can avoid person to person contact, but what about explaining the features? Say, today we know that people
Yes.
who are in the age bracket of 60 and above have more money to invest than youngsters. So market to senior citizens ka hai. So those kind of people, they may
Yes.
not be comfortable in virtual scenario. Also, they love to feel your, even if it is simple thing like a fixed deposit, they love to feel your application form. They love to see kitna interest likha hai, cumulative
Yes.
likha hai, nahi likha hai. They like to
Yes.
get their physical pages in their hands. So your bank will decide. मैंने बोला था ना मेरी talk में कि touching and
Yes.
feeling a product or a brochure or a prototype, how important is that? वो भी इनकी बैंक एक पॉलिसी डिसीजन लेना ही पड़ेगा इनकी बैंक को. बेस्ड ऑन दैट देयर सेल्स टारगेट विल बी, मैंने बोला था जॉब पेयरिंग, PARING जॉब पतली हो जाएगी. मतलब जहां पहले तुमको 60 का टारगेट था, अब हो सकता है ये संजोग में दैट टारगेट इटसेल्फ बिकम्स ओनली 15 or 12. So the target the bank will have to reduce. If there is social distancing
Okay.
and if he has to maintain, he cannot do his 60. He may do his calls, the phone calls, but physical visits, if the bank says karna hi padta hai, then he will not be able to do 60. You get me? So the bank will come out
Okay.
with some policies.
Yes.
But I am visualizing
Okay.
after the pandemic or when things stabilize, sales people, will have to go through a very different way of selling financial products.
Yes.
Very different way.
Yes. Agreed.
Because they have to be more productive,
Agreed.
you know. So that way.
Agreed. Agreed. Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to extend, this was the only question. Because of the time limit, we have not covered many questions. And
Okay.
the director has left a very beautiful message here on the chat, which you can also read, but I'm also reading on his behalf.
Okay.
The director Abhinav Singh has written that he's really thanking you and for a wonderful talk and insight for the future job market, because that
Oh.
was a big concern among all our students.
Yeah, I just
So
read
he
that
has,
message. I want to thank
yes, yes,
Dr. Gupta. I think he's Mr. Abhinav Singh, right?
yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Abhinav Singh,
Yeah,
yes,
I want to thank him. Please thank him from my side. I'm very,
yes,
very privileged to be here with his institute, and I look forward to meeting him someday. I want to thank him for giving me this opportunity. And if you have the questions,
sure,
you want me to tackle them offline, I'm always there. Okay?
sure, sure. We'll definitely, I will definitely get in touch with you in
Sure.
case I need required. Meet, ma'am. Over to you.
Uh, Hello, Seema ma'am.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Hi. Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you
No.
so much for giving us and our students the insights. You passed on such a great knowledge. उनका जो dilemma था, you solved many of them. Thank you so much for joining, ma'am.
It's my pleasure, Meet. I am so happy that you all decided to give me this chance. It's the other way around. The pleasure and the privilege is mine, Meet. I want to thank you on the contrary. So sweet of you to have thought of me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I enjoyed this discussion.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, everybody. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you everyone for being here.
Yeah, all the best.
Okay,
Bye,
we are good to
everybody.
go. Thank you.
Bye.